Breaking down the Vikings from the perspective of a former NFL General Manager of the Year. It's Jeff Diamond's Purple Report. Presented by your select Minnesota Buick GMC dealers.
Welcome to Jeff Diamond's Purple Report, brought to you every Monday and Thursday during the Vikings season. Occasionally it might be a Tuesday, such as next week, because the Vikings are opening on Monday night in Chicago. And we're brought to you by your select Minnesota Buick GMC dealers and the 2024 GMC Sierra 1500 on ESPN 1500 and available 24/7 on YouTube via link from the Score North website. I'm Jeff Diamond, former Vikings GM, former Tennessee Titans president. Our producer is AJ Fredrickson, does a fantastic job getting our show together. It's great to be back with you again this year, AJ, as we get ready for an exciting Vikings season.
And exciting, I think, is the right word, Jeff. Like last year, about this time, about a calendar year ago, you had all this excitement. You draft J.J. McCarthy, and then after the first preseason game, sidelined, year, done.
Right.
What are they going to do? Now, a year later, he's poised to have his rookie season, in a sense, technically second year, but there seems to be a lot of hope. And I know we're going to talk about that over the next half hour here with Brian Flores' defense, all the stuff they added on the offensive line, and talk about offensive weapons. It really seems like it's going to be a really good year for the Vikings.
I really believe that, AJ, and I'm not just using the purple lens here. You look at this team and you look at the additions that they brought in the trenches on both sides of the ball. Ryan Kelly, the center, Will Fries, the guard from Indianapolis, drafting Donovan Jackson to better protect the quarterback. J.J. McCarthy, in this case. Sam Darnold could have used that help last year in those final two games. We know that. And so they've upgraded that offensive line. They'll have Christian Darrisaw back. Kevin O'Connell at his press conference today said Darrisaw is on track to play in the opener, as are several other injured players. Harrison Smith, Andrew Van Ginkel, Jalen Naylor missed time the last couple of weeks of training camp with injuries, and they're all on track to play on Monday night in Chicago. That's good news. And so, I think that the Vikings are in a good position defensively. They've really fortified their front by signing Jonathan Allen and Javon Hargrave, two former Pro Bowl players, to replace Jonathan Bullard, Jerry Tillery. That's a huge upgrade up front. And then you add the other pieces that Brian Flores has on defense with the Pro Bowl edge rushers, Jonathan Grenard, Andrew Van Ginkel, Dallas Turner. I expect a breakout second season from him as an edge rusher. I think the team's loaded. There obviously are question marks. No team is perfect. And the corners are to me, a question mark. Isaiah Rodgers, Jeff Okudah, can they hold up? Okudah's been injured off in his career, former first-round pick, and Rodgers has never been a full-time starter. We know Byron Murphy's a Pro Bowl corner, and I think they're solid at safety. So there are a lot of good pieces of this team. The running backs, adding Jordan Mason, lighten the load on Aaron Jones. Excited about that addition. I think he's going to help them. And the receiver spot, we know that's been a question mark with Jefferson's hamstring in training camp, but now he's back healthy. Got to keep him healthy. They know that. And obviously, Jordan Addison is going to be suspended for the first 3 games, which put a lot of pressure on the Vikings, but they went out and made a great move, bringing Adam Thielen back for just kind of a swap of draft picks, and having Jalen Naylor healthy. I think they're in okay shape to get by those first 3 games until Addison's able to come back. And so I think it's really going to be an exciting opening game, AJ, in Chicago. I think we're going to see a lot of heavy running attack and a lot of quick passes to Jefferson. TJ Hawkinson's a guy who had 2 big games against Chicago last year. The Vikings swept the Bears last year. The first game, week 12, a 30-27 overtime win in Chicago. Hawkinson had 7 catches, 114 yards, made a big 29-yard gain that helped set up the winning field goal. And we're gonna hear some audio highlights of some of those plays from that first Bears game and the second Bear game when the Vikings came back home and beat the Bears 30-12 last year. So let's go to a few highlights here. We're going to get to some interviews later and break it all down. And then AJ and I are going to make our predictions for the opener.
There we go.
But going back to week 12 last year, Aaron Jones had a couple of good games against the Bears. And in this particular game, it was an overtime win for the Vikings in Chicago. Jones had 22 carries, 106 yards. It was a season high rushing game for him, a touchdown. And here was one of his touchdown run in that game.
Will this be the moment? Jones with the carry. Jones to the end zone. The streak is broken.
And keep in mind, Jeff, that's when he mentions the streak is broken. That was in reference to the Vikings running backs not scoring a second half touchdown, rushing touchdown in what felt like months.
Right.
And now Aaron Jones, he's going to be another feature for the Vikings this year, but Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah goes out and gets some much needed help in the backfield. He avoids the deep running back class in the draft and opts to make a addition from the 49ers with Jordan Mason. How excited are you about this backfield moving forward, especially into Monday night's game against the Bears?
Well, I think really the important thing is when Aaron Jones had his best years in Green Bay, he was sharing time a lot in the backfield, and he had a heavier load last year here. They didn't really trust Ty Chandler in pass protection. Cam Akers was kind of a journeyman back, but now you bring in a guy in Jordan Mason, a 5.2 average per carry in San Francisco last year. He's a guy that has one of the best ratings in terms of breaking tackles, and could be a really good red zone guy, could be a really good goal line back, short yardage back. And so I think it's all going to bode well to lighten the load on Aaron Jones. So at the end of the season, he's healthier than he was at the end of last season. And so I think that was a really big pickup, and they paid him some money. And I think it was something that they needed to do to really get a quality number 2 back.
Yeah. And your point about Aaron Jones's best days, I mean, he's kind of evolved in who he has been as a running back. But you think about it, his partnership with AJ Dillon in Green Bay really made him, I think, shine as a much better back than maybe he looked last year when it was kind of just the solo Aaron Jones job. I'm excited to see what Jordan Mason brings. And like you said, goal line, I think inside the 5, he's going to be a monster. All I've heard from Kevin O'Connell is how they love to see his legs just don't stop. He can make a guy or two get pushed back on their heels, and that's going to be an extra yard or two. And that punch maybe feels like what the Vikings were missing a lot of last season in those goal to go type of situations.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that will be a really important addition for a team that wants to run the ball even more than they've done in the past to protect a young quarterback in JJ McCarthy. A great running game is a quarterback's best friend, and especially a young quarterback. And so I think that's something that they're going to lean on heavily. And the Vikings had success running the ball against the Bears last year in those 2 games and those 2 wins. So I expect a heavy load of running game. I expect a heavy dose of Hockenson, as I mentioned, had a couple of good games against them. Aaron Jones out of the backfield is going to be big in the game against Chicago. And then you've got to still target Justin Jefferson 10 times in any game. I don't care who you're playing. You got to target him. And I think it could all bode well, but they got to protect the quarterback and keep Montez Sweat away from JJ. Darisaw and Brian O'Neill are going to have a good dose of Sweat, who is an excellent pass rusher, kind of fell off a little last year, but was a Pro Bowler the year before. So in that game, as we talked about, the first overtime win in Chicago, here's Jonathan Grenard had a really good season. He had a great training camp. I think he's poised to have a 15+ sack season, and he had a huge sack in overtime of Caleb Williams, who held onto the ball way too long, which he has a tendency to do sometimes.
Does he finally have a positive memory, a positive cataloging of one of those learning experiences here? Good protection. Nobody open. Williams buying all kinds of time. Where's he going to go? Nowhere! He takes the sack back at the 20. Jonathan Grenard gets to him for the second time today.
And then that set up this Hockenson play, as I mentioned before, the big 29-yard gain to set up the game winner.
2nd and 8. Darnold, the play fake, wide open at the 20 is Hockenson, down the sideline, inside the 10 and out of bounds at the 9. 1st and goal, Minnesota.
I think would like to see that on Monday night.
Absolutely. And I think the other thing they'd want to see is similar to what we saw on the Grenard sack, which is Caleb Williams just holding onto the ball. I've seen a lot of people in the Bears realm maybe say, oh, our quarterback, Caleb Williams, he didn't throw one interception to a division rival all of last season. Well, the problem was he was holding on the ball for way too long, Jeff. So
Yeah.
do you think you're going to see maybe some urgency from him Monday night to maybe force a pass or two that Brian Flores' defense can maybe capitalize on?
That could happen, definitely. And he was sacked 68 times, league high last year, holding the ball or just not making good decisions. And so, yeah, the Vikings definitely want to unleash that pass rush. Ben Johnson was talking about it. We're going to get to him a little bit later, the new Bears coach, the ex-Lions offensive coordinator. And he was talking about Brian Flores' defense and how they're coming from everywhere. You don't know where they're coming from, hard to prepare for. And that's tough for a young quarterback. And that's why Flores has had a lot of success against these young quarterbacks who he will see in the first couple weeks of the season with Caleb Williams and then Michael Penix when the Vikings host the Falcons in week 2. But then, as we mentioned, the Vikings won the second game against Chicago back here in Minnesota, week 15, blew them out 30-12. Justin Jefferson was kind of shut down in the first game, only had 2 catches. Jalen Johnson, an excellent corner, Pro Bowl corner for Chicago, had a lot of help from safeties in that game. And Johnson missed almost all of training camp with a groin injury. So it's questionable whether he'll even play on Monday night. The Bears definitely need him. And if he's there, he'll be locked in on Jefferson along with safety help, which is going to put pressure then on Adam Thielen and Jalen Naylor. Of course, Hawkinson, Josh Oliver, Aaron Jones out of the backfield to make plays. But Jefferson will still make his plays. And in the second game, he has 7 catches for 73 yards. And here was a key play he made in that game.
And I say it just depends. You just can't let the guy lose confidence if he plays early. Here's Jefferson, catch and run to the Chicago 49.
That was a wide receiver screen, and that's something that O'Connell, I'm sure, will try to utilize again when the Bears are going to double coverage. Get Jefferson the ball out in the flat, let him run with the ball with some help from the offensive line and the tight ends and so forth. One more audio highlight we have. Dallas Turner, and I mentioned him before. I expect a breakout year from the second-year first-round pick last year. Only had 3 sacks in his rookie year. And I think that he is a guy that's really going to come on. He had a really good training camp. And here was one of his 3 sacks of Caleb Williams in the second game last year.
Which is the first step for any organization to be able to compete within the division. 3rd down and 3. Williams sacked. Dallas Turner.
Dallas Turner. Remember that name this year. I think there's going to be a lot of excitement, a lot of good stuff going on. And Dallas Turner is one of the guys, one of those first-round picks that the Vikings need to come through. McCarthy, of course, the other one from last year. If those 2 guys end up being Pro Bowl players, then people might forget about some of the earlier drafts that happened in 2022 and 2023, where most of the players are not here. But fortunately, Kwesi Adolfo-Menzo, the GM, and Kevin O'Connell have done a great job in free agency to add talent, and that's overcome some of these draft deficiencies that they've had. So we'll see how it plays out. Now, before we get into hearing from the coach and a couple other players, let's talk about our great sponsor, the Select Minnesota Buick GMC dealers. GMC trucks weren't built overnight like every American achievement. They are a result of dedication to mastering the art of design and the science of engineering, to building upon prior knowledge year after year, decade after decade. GMC, over 100 years dedicated to the art of engineering and the ambition to always move this country forward. We are professional grade. Well-qualified buyers get 0% APR on 2025 GMC Sierra 1500 crew cab models with a 5.3-liter engine with an average finance savings of $4,322 plus $1,500 bonus cash. That's a total value over $5,800 plus no monthly payments until next year. See your Select Minnesota GMC dealer today. Length of contract limited, deferred monthly payments for 120 days. Must finance with GM Financial. Down payment required at signing if applicable. Finance charges accrue from date of financing. Some customers will not qualify. Savings based on bank rate of 5.64%. Not available with lease and some other offers. Take new retail delivery by 9/30/25. So, Kevin O'Connell today talking at Vikings headquarters about training camp, looking ahead to the opener and the Chicago Bears.
obviously you put a lot of time and energy into the off-season program, the training camp we were able to have, which was a really positive one. Our team grew a lot, and there was a lot of improvement across the board. But you do it all for game week, which we are now in, and very much looking forward to continuing our preparation that's already started, but continuing that as we get some really good days of work this week. Going to be a challenge. Expecting great energy, and excitement for the home team there, an NFC North game to kick off the season, and the most competitive division in football. Every team feels really good about their organization and where they're at, and every time these teams play, including Monday night, it's going to be a competition at the highest levels of our league, I think. So we've got to prepare our team to go on the road and try to find a way to win a football game against a really good team. Just finished up walkthrough. Everybody participated in the walkthrough outside of Harrison Smith participated in the walkthrough. He will not practice today, but the hope is we can ramp him up. He's back in the building and meetings and building up his workload for the week. So we'll see where he's at throughout the remainder of the week.
JJ McCarthy, obviously the biggest question mark this season for this Vikings team.
Mm-hmm.
And you gotta say, AJ, that you look at McCarthy. I watched him a lot in training camp. I saw growth from him in camp, especially in the joint practices against the Patriots when he had extended duty. And the second day, he completed 13 balls in a row at one point. And that really impressed me. Talking to other people around the league, some of the scouts before the draft and so forth, JJ McCarthy is a guy I think is going to be an eventual Pro Bowl quarterback. The question is, how quick can he get there? He's got a great supporting cast led by Kevin O'Connell, who we just saw, who elevated Kirk Cousins, Sam Darnold to Pro Bowl caliber quarterbacks. He can do the same thing with McCarthy, who probably has as much or more talent than those two guys. And the thing that McCarthy also, he's got some legs. He can run. He's like a 4 or 5 guy. And so, but he's got to be smart when he runs. And I'm sure we'll see him take off on Monday night in Chicago on occasion. He's got to slide. He's got to get out of bounds, not expose himself to injury. They did sign Carson Wentz, a veteran guy. I thought that was a really important move, a good move. Sam Howell struggled in camp, inconsistent. And so I think they're okay there. But McCarthy's the guy that you want to have lead your team. And he's showing really good leadership for a 22-year-old guy already. So I think that's really exciting for the future of the franchise. The Bears have some good talent on defense. Guys like T.J. Edwards, Tremaine Edmonds, Montez Sweat up front, I mentioned before. They're going to have to contain a lot of these players. But I think the Vikings have the people on offense to do that, protect McCarthy, and run the ball, as we said, quick passes to Jefferson, to Thielen, Hawkinson, as we mentioned before. So I think it's going to be, but it's a big test for JJ. National TV, Monday Night Football, his first start. But I'll tell you one thing, AJ, the last time he was started a game in prime time, the Michigan Wolverines won the national championship. So I don't know that this stage is going to be too big for him.
Yeah, and the thing about that too is, I mean, the narrative I feel like around him, even since his drafts workouts at the combine, is he doesn't throw the ball enough. He doesn't throw the ball hard enough. He doesn't throw the ball deep enough. I'm excited to see on Monday night for most, if not all of those, to get put to bed pretty quickly. It's going to take one deep ball to a Justin Jefferson, or, one crossing route to an Adam Thielen, or something along those lines to, I think, everybody say, you know what, he really zipped it in there. He really hit that hole, and he looks like the guy. But it is going to be a tough night, because even the biggest college game, I think it's a different atmosphere, and you can probably attest to this, Jeff.
Sure.
Any single NFL game. This isn't just, neutral site, crazy college fans. This is Soldier Field. This is Monday Night Football. This is the entire nation watching you in what is JJ's first career NFL start. I don't think he necessarily is going to fall flat, but I do expect a few shaky steps early in the night before he really settles in.
Yeah, I think there's going to be growing pains for any young quarterback. And I'm sure Dennis Allen, a quality defensive coordinator in Chicago, he's been around, he's been a head coach, he's been a defensive coordinator. He's
Yep.
going to throw some exotic blitzes at JJ that he probably didn't see in some of those other practices. And
Yeah.
but he certainly saw it from Brian Flores' defense in training camp. So I don't think he's going to be shocked necessarily by anything that he sees. And I think, but it's going to be definitely a big test for him, and that's where his teammates have to rally around him and help him. I think on defense, of course, the Vikings have to do certainly a good job pass protecting or pass rushing Caleb Williams, contain his running. He ran for 33 yards in the first game last year, but they held him to 3 yards rushing in the second game. DeAndre Swift is a quality back who they shut down in the first game, but he did have 79 yards in the second game. And I think the Bears are going to, Ben Johnson's going to approach it in a similar manner as O'Connell. He's going to want to protect Caleb Williams from that Vikings ferocious pass rush that had 49 sacks, ranked fourth in the league last year. And I think they're even better this year with Jonathan Allen and Javon Hargrave up front. And so I think that certainly Ben Johnson is going to want to run the ball, try to run the ball. The Vikings were second in the league against the run last year. I expect them to shut down the run and then get after Caleb Williams on Monday night. So that'll be interesting to see. Let's hear from JJ, and he's talking about his confidence level.
Extremely high, highest it's ever been. I feel like, just looking at the guys around me and the coaching staff, like that gives me all the confidence in the world to go out there knowing I've God at my back and at all of our backs. I just feel like, I get goosebumps right now just thinking about it. Just extremely confident and just the way we tack every single day. We put in the work and, the rest is going to take care of itself. But just having that confidence level as a precursor of the work that we put in, it just makes me really excited.
Yeah, I think this is a guy, he's got plenty of confidence, he's got plenty of ability.
Yes.
And got to stay healthy first of all, and I think that's first and foremost, and then make good decisions and execute. And I think that's what they're going to be looking for. Certainly Kevin O'Connell will be, but as I said, he's got a great supporting cast starting with his head coach. And speaking of head coaches, Ben Johnson, I mentioned before, he was talking about Brian Flores' defense at his presser this week, and here's Ben Johnson, the former Lions offensive coordinator.
Yeah, I mean, what doesn't create a challenge? He's an outstanding coach. All kinds of issues. I mean, there's not a team that pressures more than Minnesota has over the last 2 years. And I go back to what I admired most about New England when I was a young coach in this business, and they had the ability to morph week in and week out, and he does that. He does that as a coordinator. You don't really know what you're going to get. You have to adjust in the middle of the game. Our guys have to be open-minded and be willing to understand we're going to get hit in the teeth a couple times. That's the nature of doing business with this crew. They've got some really good players. They're really well coached. They're really ball conscious. They're going after the ball all the time. I think they were number one in turnovers last year, and that's a credit to how they practice because it shows up on game tape. So, I mean, you can go on the stat sheet and it's, points per game. I think they're top 5. They're really good on critical downs. So third and fourth down, they're excellent. And it was a phenomenal rushing defense last year as well. So we're going to have our work cut out in front of us.
And watch for trick plays from Ben Johnson. He used to run those in Detroit. And I think we could see something on Monday night from his bag of tricks too. So we'll see how that plays out. Let's hear it again.
I don't think Brian Flores would take it too well to have a lineman like Penei Sewell did with the Lions do something like that, but now a Bears style thing on Monday night. That would be an awful start to the year, I think, for any defense.
Well, that's for sure. Well, I think Ben's got to worry about his offensive tackles. And they have struggled a little in the past. I'm talking about Darnell Wright. I'm talking about Braxton Jones, and the Vikings will be going after those guys. The Bears did fortify their interior offensive line, signed Joe Thuney, signed Jonah Jackson, trying to help up front a little bit for Caleb Williams, definitely. And we're going to talk a little bit more, make our predictions, and talk about some big games around the league too. But first, let's hear from our great sponsor, the Select Minnesota Buick GMC dealers.
GMC trucks weren't built overnight. Like every American achievement, they are a result of dedication. A dedication to mastering the art of design and the science of engineering. To building upon prior knowledge, year after year, decade after decade. GMC, over 100 years dedicated to the art of engineering and the ambition to always move this country forward. We are professional grade. Well-qualified buyers get 0% APR on 2025 GMC Sierra 1500 Crew Cab models with a 5.3-liter engine with an average finance savings of $4,322 plus $1,500 bonus cash. That's a total value over $5,800 plus no monthly payments until next year. See your local GMC dealer today. Length of contract limited. Deferred monthly payments for 120 days. Excludes residents of Pennsylvania. Must finance with GM Financial. Down payment required at signing if applicable. Finance charges accrue from data financing. Some customers will not qualify. Savings based on bank rate of 5.64%. Not available with lease and some other offers. Take new retail delivery by 9/30/25.
Okay, AJ, so a couple other keys, I think, and we've talked about stop the run, pressure Caleb Williams, contain him in the pocket, JJ not make mistakes, not turn the ball over, and run the ball with Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason. Those are obvious keys to this game. Also, some of the more subtle keys, winning the special teams battle, always important. The Vikings have a rookie kick returner, Miles Price, who is taking on both duties, kickoff return and punt return. So they need him to protect the ball too. And certainly that's going to be important. Limiting penalties in an opener. The starters have not played that much in preseason, so they've got to watch the false starts, watch the pre-snap penalties. That's always an important factor too. Okay, AJ, I'll let you go first, and then I'll give you my prediction.
All right. I want to preface this with, I think the Vikings are going to have a fantastic season. I think they're going to be a very good team, and I'm excited to see JJ get settled in and become, I think, the very exciting young quarterback that this franchise has needed. I think the defense is going to be good, but on the one hesitation I have is that the first game it's not a 12 o'clock on CBS. It's not buried in kind of the monotony of every other Sunday game. This is Monday night. This is Soldier Field. You're on the road. And unfortunately at week 1, Bears fans still think they have a chance at winning the entire thing. So they're going to be crazy. They're going to be raucous. I don't know for his first start if JJ is going to be up to the task, because you're going to need a start to finish really good game. I think if you start playing well in the second quarter, that drastically increases the Bears' chance to win. I think it's going to be close, and they'll still show some light, maybe a late comeback, but it'll fall short. 17-20 Vikings lose in Soldier Field.
Okay, well, I'm going to go opposite you on this one. I think the Vikings are the better team. I think they've got a better roster. I think their defense can carry them early in the season until Addison gets back to help Jefferson and Thielen and Naylor. I think they'll run the ball effectively as they have against the Bears in the past. Hawkinson is going to be a big factor in this game. And I think McCarthy will do enough, even with his legs, to make some big plays. And I think Caleb is a guy that they can get to. They can sack him. They can pressure him. And I think the Bears, new head coach, new coordinators, it's a new system. That takes a little time. So I think the Vikings, with their continuity and coaching, will help them. I like the Vikings in this game. I'm going to say 27-17 that they're going to win on Monday night in Chicago. Dominant defense, enough from the offense, and the Vikings get that win. Let's go around the league a little bit real quickly. There's some really exciting games this weekend, starting with the Thursday night opener. I think the Chiefs the Eagles will roll over Dallas without Micah Parsons. Crazy trade that Dallas made.
No kidding.
I like the Chiefs in Brazil over the Chargers in a pretty close game, a divisional game.
Yep.
The game, of course, that we're going to be watching closely, Green Bay hosts Detroit in the opener at Lambeau Field Sunday late game. And that's a tough one to call. Parsons may not be quite ready to contribute fully in that game. Detroit has 2 new coordinators, lost 2 stars on the offensive line. I'm going to take Green Bay in this game, but I wouldn't bet the house on that one. I think it's a really tough one to call.
See, I lean the other way. I think the Lions, just because of everything that, especially like rookie wide receiver with Matthew Golden, I don't think their passing game is going to be up to snuff for week 1, despite being at home. I think the Lions are just going to go off pedigree from last year, and they probably get that week 1 win.
Yeah, that could easily happen. That's why I'm not real confident about that. With Baltimore at Buffalo on Sunday night, that's a great matchup of the divisional playoff game last year. They went down to the wire. And so I think there'll be some fun games this weekend. And then the Vikings and the Bears will wrap it up on Monday night. And we will be back on Tuesday at 5 o'clock at our regular new time, 5 o'clock. And then, of course, our show is available on demand 24/7 via YouTube. And we'll be back on Tuesday to break down the Vikings at the Bears. And this has been Jeff Diamond's Purple Report, brought to you every Monday and Thursday, occasionally Tuesday during the Viking season by your select Minnesota Buick GMC dealers and the 2025 GMC Sierra on 1500 ESPN, available 24/7 on YouTube via link from the 1500 ESPN and Score North websites. This is Jeff Diamond with AJ Fredrickson, and we will talk to you on Tuesday after the Vikings and the Bears in Chicago.